So Dave, would you just give a very quick synopsis of who you are, what you do, what you enjoy doing, all that sort of thing?
My name is Dave Gandy, and I have the privilege of getting to run Font Awesome. Font Awesome is icons for people who make websites. And the thing I love, icons are great, but what I love are the people that I work with every day. What I care most about is that we are making a place where people can be fulfilled in life and work. And that sounds off the cuff, sounds a little bit trite, but when you get down to it and you really, really work to make that true, there are a few things I find more compelling in life than to help others become more of who they are.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. I've seen that firsthand. And what you probably won't share that I will share is that you have had some of the most world-class training, education, background. You have a very storied, development professionally. Um, Having been through MIT, Y Combinator, where were you at, however, when you started prior to working with Table Group? What were some of the
Yeah.
challenges you were facing as a leader of a new and growing company?
I tell you what, the problems were not technological.
Mm,
The problems were absolutely not technological. The problems were all about people. Our company is full of nerds who like people more than they like machines. But I tell you what, even then, that only carries you so far. So some of the really the important work that we got to do with the Table Group was all around um, working together as a team, right? How do you become more yourself too, right? Like I love what I get to do for others, but there's the aspect of being able to do it for our own organization and for myself that I didn't know how to do. If I did, I would have already done it, right? So we've all got this sort of cap on what we know. And what was so spectacular was to run to a group um, that had gone so much further with so much of the thinking and philosophy and like, what's the right way to do this? What's the right people first way to run this? And to see results, right? You don't do people first and then not get results. It's not one or the other, right? It's not people first or outcome first. It's
mhm,
both. And that's what's
mhm.
really cool is when you're doing them right, it's both at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's a part of what was so much fun to see is how do you both hold people accountable for what they're doing, um, but in a way that's humane and natural and just normal, right? There's no big conflict going. It's as a matter of fact actually conflict, but it doesn't feel like it, right? It's about
Mhm,
coming to a place where different ideas can be hashed through in a
mhm.
way where people don't take it personally.
Yeah.
That's the real magic, I think, is because we are so much better together as people,
Mhm, mhm.
so much better. But we often get in our own way. And so much of that has to do with how do we emotionally process conflict, right? The
Yeah.
place where we come from, our families, we each have different modes of coping with conflict because
Mhm,
I mean, there's a group of people who grew up thinking that conflict is fundamentally bad.
mhm.
Um, and then you got somebody like my family that thinks all conflict is great, and that's not quite true either necessarily, right? That there's the right healthy way to do this where people are heard, and in the end, how you know that it's working is when you walk out of the other room with the right people in the room and you think, I could not have come up with that myself. That's
Mhm,
how you know it's
mhm.
working. And it's so
Yeah.
much fun to have that as a bottled process, right? It's done, it's bottled, put a cork in it and walk away. And it's so much fun for that to be a core piece of our competencies as a company. We've got a lot more to do to grow. Um, but it's so much fun to feel like that is getting better all the time. We have a lot more to grow with that too, but it's so great to feel like we're going in the right direction and that we know where to go next. That's the key, right? So much of sometimes the easiest things in the world are just hard work because you know where you're going, right? You know the path that you've got to go on, but the real challenging things are where you're just like, gosh, I have no idea. And it's so much fun to find a group that actually understands that,
Yeah.
that can help hand you the map. And that's the part that I find just so that's so much fun, right? Not only that we're fun at the end, right? It's hard work and it's growth, but it's so deeply satisfying at the end.
I remember probably a few months after we initially first worked together, your comment was, you all have changed the way we work, and we just shipped our best product ever,
Mm-hmm.
which is that combination of you're learning how to work with one another well and having great results doing it. And
Yeah.
that is that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So lastly, what would you work in this space, in the tech space, with a lot of different people. You are even interviewed on the kind of culture that you all create. And what would you say to other leaders who are considering this kind of work, doing this kind of work?
It's one of those things. It's really hard to quantify until you've done it, right? Until you've done certain things in life, it's hard to understand what you've been missing. And this is exactly one of those. And the truth is, right, that our costs when we're running a company, some of them are financial, but the real ones are opportunity costs. The real ones are focus.
Right.
And the amount of focus that you can get back from doing this work well, and the way that your teams can work well together while doing it, and the way that you can improve that whole process, it's worth the risk, right? The risk is the time you spend, right? Yeah. And if you're getting together with you guys for a couple of days, that risk isn't too much, right? Yeah. The risk is actually having heard about it and deciding, you know what, I don't think that's important enough. It's one of those things that it's so hard to know what you don't know, right? Those unknown unknowns are always the thing that bite us in the biggest way. And as people in tech, we feel like we know so much because we have such a tight rein and handle on the technology. But the truth is, people are far more complex and nuanced than any technology ever will be. And that's the stuff that matters. That's the stuff that in the end is going to give you, it's not going to, you get the technology right. You can get a nice little multiplier on your efficiency, right? But what's the multiplier on efficiency when you walk home from work and you just feel satisfied, right? When you're like, we are doing spectacular work. I'm not burnt out in terms of hours, but boy, was I engaged on everything that we did, and everybody was engaged there, and we're all rowing in the right direction, in the same direction. And there's no politics. There's no, like, everybody's in the room saying what they actually think because they feel comfortable enough to do it. I tell you what, if that's not transformative, I don't know what is, right? Because we're used to technology. We're used to just running harder, running faster. And sometimes the right thing to do is take a bead and grow a little bit. And I think that's where it was for us. Because it turns out, we think people are the most important thing about business. We think software and technology is meaningless outside of the context of people. And so, some of this is just doing the due diligence of, we say that we believe people are important. I guess it follows then that we should spend some time understanding that better. And that's what has been so fantastic about the Table Group. Is I don't know if you ever, I remember reading a few books, and I had a few disparate thoughts that were semi-original. I hadn't heard anybody else say it. And then all of a sudden you read a book and it packages them all up. And then it's like 10 times more than you'd ever come to you. And it's like, yes, this is amazing. For us, six types of working genius was exactly that. We were one of the earlier folks getting, doing this assessment, and it's changed too how we work. It's so directly applicable on a daily basis that's the money. That's the thing that just like shines in this, is how easy it is and how much sense it makes, right? And so it's the first thing when people start. They take 6 types of working genius. I mean, you can use it as a hiring tool too if you really want to. We want us to be the hiring tool. We want to be able to spot this stuff in interviews. We want to be able to like see it ourselves too. And so in some ways, the test is now kind of a confirmation of the stuff that we're realizing and looking for, and recognizing the greatness that everyone does have when you're able to sort through it and see it.
I love it. Dave, appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.